This is my history of the turbine engine design project. I have 3 turbine engines to talk about, one from Rolls-Royce and 2 from Pratt & Whitney. They are the Rolls-Royce RB211 and the Pratt & Whitney JT9D and the Pratt & Whitney PW4000. The first one we will talk about is the Rolls-Royce RB211. It was developed in 1972 and was one of the first turbine engines designed by Rolls-Royce, and it made them into a global competitor in turbine engine design. This engine weighed 11,929 pounds. It had a net thrust of 182.5 to 189.8 kilonewtons with a thrust-to-weight ratio of 3.44 to 3.58. The fuel flow is about 22,000 pounds per hour, and the specific fuel consumption would be about 0.33. Now, this engine was developed for the Lockheed L1011, but it was also used on the Boeing 747, the 757, and the 767. Now, this engine would be produced up into the 90s and would later be developed into the Rolls-Royce Trent series of turbine engines. So now we'll go to the Pratt & Whitney JT9D. This engine was designed in December of 1965 as one of the first turbo engines designed by Pratt & Whitney. It weighed 8,713 pounds with a net thrust of 193 kilonewtons and a thrust-to-weight ratio of 4.99. It had a specific fuel consumption of 0.6 and a bypass ratio of 8 to 1. Now, like the RB211, it was also used on the 747 and the Boeing 767, but it was also used on the Airbus A300 and the A310 and the McDonnell Douglas DC-10. It was also produced up into the 90s and would later be developed into our next engine that we're going to talk about, which is the Pratt & Whitney PW4000. So we'll talk about that one now. So the Pratt & Whitney PW4000 was developed in April of 1984, and it had a weight of 9,420 pounds and a net thrust of 222 to 276 kilonewtons with a thrust-to-weight ratio of 5 to 1. And the specific fuel consumption on this engine is 0.359 and the bypass ratio of 5 to 1. Now, this engine was produced up until now. It's still being produced, still being used on planes such as the Airbus 300, the Airbus A330, the Boeing 747, the 767, and the 777. That's all I have. That is my history of the turbine engine design project. I hope you enjoyed. Thanks for watching. it had a specific